So our plant of the month is the Linheimer Gaura. Some people call it the Butterfly Gaura or the White Gaura, or even Linheimer's blossom. Uh, yeah, bee blossom. Okay. This is a pretty unique looking and probably one of the showiest Gauras that exist in the family. And by the way, this is a evening primrose family actually plant. It has this really nice white flower that resembles a butterfly. It's just kind of on the end of a stem that it starts off in the morning as a white flower, about 1 inches in diameter, and then toward the end of the day starts turning pink. And they appear in flower all the way from spring through fall. And about in the summer when they start blooming less, you can deadhead them or trim them down, and they will produce another show of blossoms in the fall. Butterflies and bees, of course, love this plant. It grows about maybe 2 to 4 feet tall and about 3 feet wide, and it has a deep taproot, and they tend to need full sun, but partial sun, it'll grow in that, and it prefers that full sun, though you'll get more flowering. And it does require well-drained soil, and it's kind of moderately resistant to deer. Certainly after it's established, and sometimes they work on the blossoms, of course. In terms of propagation, they self-seed, but you can get them to grow by seeding as well. And they do tend to be aggressive after they get established, and they kind of pop up all over the place. So a great plant that is also part of the Linheimer chapter's nice spring plants selection, and they're available pretty much in most nurseries. There are sometimes cultivars that are out there that are just pink, and not necessarily white in the morning and changing to pink. Any questions about this really unique plant? I mean, there's no other plant that looks like this, in terms of that uh, flower on the end of that stem there. And in the wind, they kind of blow, and they do look like butterflies. Any questions? Yes, Dick? Oh, I'm sorry. They're very drought tolerant. Yes. Once established, they don't require irrigation.
Are they fast spreading?
Yeah, they're aggressive. Yeah, after,
Okay.
you start off with 3 of them, and next season you'll have 6 of them, and after that you'll have 12, and then 24. Okay, thank you very much, Deb. I'll let you introduce our speaker.
Before we do that, since we will forget if we don't do this, we can go ahead and draw for the door prize.
Okay, lucky number ending, what is it?
Oh, so it is a ticket for the two free tastings at the tasting room. Okay.
It's in Blanco, Texas.
In Blanco. Mm-hmm.
Okay, lucky number ending 121.
Okay.
121. There you go. Emery one.
Okay. Now I will step aside. You go ahead, Frank, and introduce us.
Great.
Our speaker today is Victoria Raven. She's the manager and at the Esperanza Winery in Spring Branch. As she said, the tasting room is in Blanco. Her mother started the winery, and she's been working with her in the vineyard since she was 9 years old. She's also a master naturalist, and today she's going to talk to us about the native grapes of Texas.
Thank you, everybody, for letting me talk today. I'm I wrote this paper a while ago about these native vines and their role in our lives today, and why it actually brought me to the passion of becoming a winemaker slash grape grower, viticulturalist, all of the things. When I was about 9 years old, we got this property in the middle of nowhere at the time, and it felt like I was pretty much away from everything. But in staying out there, we found beautiful foliage and awesome butterflies and birds and everything. And so we wanted to expand on that. And my mom was really into wine at the time, so she wanted to go check out the wineries that were in Fredericksburg. And she was disappointed with all of them. They didn't have that kind of flavor palette that she was looking for. And so my my mom's friend decided to pretty much dare her into starting her own vineyard. And we did, because why back down from that kind of dare? So it took us about 2 years to clear out the property, just for the space. It was about 4 acres. And we had 14 rows at 200 feet long and decided to do a process of elimination. So we bought all of these vines and planted them all: Sauvignon Blanc, Cabernet, a Muscat, and a Chenin Blanc. And the only thing that survived was Sauvignon Blanc. Couldn't understand why, after 4 years of just letting them grow, and finally becoming established to produce a wine out of it, none of them survived except for Sauvignon Blanc. Come to find out, it was the rootstock that was on it. It needed that certain soil, whereas all the other ones couldn't handle that kind of soil. So it was like, okay, well, that's going to be our #1 star. And in 2015, we went from growing grapes and selling them to the local winemakers in Fredericksburg and Comfort, and actually producing our own. So we have a 2016 Sauvignon Blanc that is beautiful and soft and just refreshing enough to be nice and crisp on the end, but not overbearing. And it doesn't have that tart finish, and I love it very much. And since then, we just kept going. Well, times have changed, and our terroir is not the same. Our elevation hasn't really changed either, but our our landscape is definitely more eroded than it used to be. So trying to find proper vines was difficult. So we had to settle for going to a Spanish route. And so we got Tempranillo and Tannat, and a white Tannat, or excuse me, a white Tempranillo called Malvasia Blanca. Beautiful, very lush, gorgeous green grapes when they're not ripe, but then they chandelier down and they're just big purple babies. Gorgeous. Want to eat them off the vine. And that ended up being our new section for expanding our vineyard. And so the crazy thing is that the Sauvignon Blanc versus the Tempranillo and the Tannat up front, they were different elevations by like 25 feet. And I never thought that would be such a big deal either. But up front couldn't handle Sauvignon Blanc, and back front couldn't handle Tempranillo. So it was like, okay, got to figure out the lay of the land, right? So today I wanted to talk about the Texas native grapevines, and the deep-rooted history that they have with actually producing the wines that we have today, and how they actually pretty much brought together a nation in order to make this world unified, I feel. And it's a really awesome story. So bear with me, because I wrote this a while back. I did consolidate it, so it's not 16 pages like it was. But I'm going to start from the beginning. And for 135 years, the Texas rootstock has been supporting European grapevines for just over 135 years. Surprisingly, our grapevines have been have been used much earlier on, before the first settlers came to claim the Texas land in 1680. The history of viticulture in Texas actually spans over 3 centuries, and it predates California grown wine. Thank you. The indigenous people were the first to take advantage of these wild grapes for multiple uses, such as food sources, medicine, trade goods, and fermented drinks. And the vines would also be used for turning it into cordage and basket weaving materials. The Spanish missionaries had settled to establish themselves along the Rio Grande Valley and created one of the very first wineries, or at least one of the very first vineyards. Coming from wine-producing regions, they had brought with them a European grapevine known as Vitis vinifera, or vinifera, if you prefer, and established the first vineyard in North America near El Paso River Valley. The black Spanish varietal was used to produce their sacramental wines and other products. However, the European vines they planted had an extremely hard time adapting to the hot, humid climates of Texas and faced several challenges from native pests and diseases. Being a different species from the Texas wild grapes, these imported vines were highly susceptible to local threats, often resulting in their decline and death. Taking note from the native people and their use in the native grown grapes, the missionaries demonstrated considerable interest in the local grape varieties and their viticultural processes. As European vines struggled to survive, settlers increasingly relied on native grapevines like Mustang Genesis and Rotundifolia. I can never say that properly. The Muscadine grape and the Mustang grape. We will go into that a little bit later. So these native varieties proved more resilient and better suited for the Texas environment and were hardy in heat, drought, and pest, and abundant along rivers, woodlands, and fermented into rustic wines by both indigenous groups and early European settlers. Let's see if I can do this right. I'm working on it. If I could figure out how to do that. From the beginning, here we go. Okay.
I think maybe tab advances,
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Hmm?
I'm not a big.
Oh, it's all good. I can tap. We're good. Thank you. I'm not much for computers either. So, okay. So this is actually a photo of one of my grapevines that I've cultivated. It's a Sauvignon Blanc, one of the very first that we produced. I've had that photo for about 15 years now, but I just like the way the light shines through the leaves. Beautiful. Anyway. So these native varieties proved more resilient and better suited in the Texas environment. They were hardy in heat, drought, and pest abundant. And I've already said that. So the reliability of them made them very essential for survival and daily life in the early Texas times. Oh, am I on the right spot? There we go.